We are so back. Invincible Season 3, we are finally back. I binge watched 3 of the episodes of Invincible, so you didn't have to. I'm going to give you the gist, the overview, and why finally Invincible is back. I'm also going to give you a breakdown, so go ahead and stand in, lock down, and be ready to watch it. This is the last straw. This show was a pure banger in Season 1. Season 2, not so much. It was some of the worst shit I saw. A lot of filler, and it was very boring. One of the most boring shits I've ever seen in my life. Let me tell you, they better strap up or this will get put in the back burner and this shit will get washed. So, as we hop into episode 1 of season 3, we finally see Mark pretty much going through a NFL combine camp, becoming the strongest, most durable superhero of all time. We've got him racing to Mars, lifting the heaviest things on Earth, and really testing his limits. Now, we know that his little brother Oliver is a mutant. With that, he is growing at an exponential rate. We know that he's going to age a lot faster because he is a mutant, but we also know it's going to provide some issues. Another huge opening in season 3 is all of the gang is back in town. We got the knockoff versions of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Rexplode, Immortal, Duplicate, and old CECIL. We well are sure that chaos is on the way. And of course, our most known villain, Seismic. He ends up pulling a Jin Woo, shout out Soul Leveling, the best manhwa and anime of all time. But anyways, we get to see Seismic and he is leveled up. And of course, the fuckery is upon us and it is going to continue to be around us, especially when we got CECIL into the picture. Episode 1, we see that CECIL is forced to use his ace in the hole, which is a hybrid Terminator beast, and Mark isn't happy about that. One thing I've noticed about Mark in season 3 is that he is purely determined to kill bad guys. Bad guys has to be put away. Something new about him. He has no soft spots for these bad guys. Pure vengeance, all about justice, and we get to see this in the opening episode of season 3. One of the characters being Darkwing and the minions. You remember from earlier in season 2 where they almost killed him? Yeah. He is the ace in the hole, and CECIL brings him out, and he ends up saving the Guardians of the Galaxy, Mark, and his new bestowed. But him being the Viltrumite he is, it is definitely showing because Mark in season 3 has a very short temper. And that is how you break out a season opener. But as we go into season 3, episode 2, we see that Mark does not mess with the ops, and he is truly about vengeance. And we get a little throwback to see how CECIL used to work back in the day. So at the beginning of episode 2, we get a flashback to a young CECIL. Taking a quick break to shout out my biggest supporters on my Dan to Dan review, TrazDO5, John Tone, SHPRTZan, and of course, Samo3659. Shout out to y'all for commenting down below. Now let's get back to the review. CECIL, where he's in the field without his scar. We also get to see a glimpse of how CECIL's mind works and how he develops a scar, how things work. Now, it's not going to be clean, just like how government works today, but we see all the decisions and the reasoning behind CECIL's decisions and how he makes it make sense. As I said at the episode 1, Mark does not mess with Darkwing, but CECIL learned to reconstitute Darkwing, aka mind control, and that is something that CECIL's predecessor taught him before he became the president of the CIA. It is a full circle. We also see CECIL put a bullet in his ops, some real demonic shit, and low-key, I respect CECIL more after that. We get a few more flashbacks, and after they are all completed, we see that CECIL and Mark are finally going to have their come to Jesus meeting, and just wow. It shows that Mark has for sure leveled up and he is not taking any of CECIL's shit. It gets deeper and deeper as we get down the rabbit hole and we finally understand why OMNI did some of the things that he did. This season is very good and I'm very excited for what's to come. All I know is if OMNI, Oliver, and Mark, aka the real big 3, the real 3-peat, if those 3 get together, the whole universe is going to have some issues, and I am hyped for that. We know that is CECIL's worst enemy, and that is the worst thing that can happen. But if he continues to drive division, if he continues to push Mark away, that is what's going to happen. Whatever even makes this episode better is that it takes place in the same exact arena where OMNI popped off and slaughtered the original team at their headquarters. CECIL is not one to be messed with, but in episode 2, we low-key see him losing his grip on Mark and the rest of the team. Later on, Later on, this finally comes to fruition, and the Guardians end up splitting up into two teams. One is the OGs, all right, Immortal, Darkwing, and Duplicate. And then we got the young kiddos, Mark, Rexplode, and the others. The best and the coolest part about this episode is we get to see a young Viltrumite. That's right, we get to see young Omni-Man in the flashback with CECIL. But then, just as any anime, any animation, any manhwa, we have to have the dark sadness. And the sadness is, whenever CECIL got recruited from the field and became the CIA director, we get to see Donald. And Donald has been that robot since day one. I don't know the iteration, but man, seeing Donald back in the 60s or 70s or whenever this took place, looking the exact same as he does today, it just hits you in the feels. And then finally, full circle to come around to episode 3 of their first 3-drop teaser. You know what they say, the apple doesn't fall too far away from the tree, and they ain't ever lied. So we finally get the introduction of Kid Omni-Man, aka Nolan's second son, Oliver. Damn, that kid's introduction is legit. In reminiscence of Omni-Man, we know that Oliver is purely about family. He is determined, and he is really about that action. In his introduction to the superhero lifestyle, he catches 2 bodies, and it's of my 2 favorite characters. It's the Mauler twins. Episode 3, besides that, ain't too crazy. The highlights are we get to see the other halves of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they really have to step it up. Again, we get to see my 2 favorite twins in the whole series being the Maulers, but they are sacrificial lambs to the one, the only, Kid Omni-Man. The best part about episode 3, or the most ominous in my opinion, is that we get to see the resemblance between Oliver and Omni-Man. As he is pulverizing the Mauler twins, ripping their heads off, he gets covered in blood, and it has that infamous scene. Think, Mark, think. So we are in it. We are all the way in it. Invincible has returned to its roots, and I can tell that this season is going to be fire. I'm so glad that Mark is back on his demon time. We get to see Kid Omni-Man who's growing up, turning into superheroes left and right, killing people. Now all we need is the trifecta of having Nolan come back into the picture. The big 3 is on the way. We've got the split amongst the Guardians of the Galaxy. CECIL has no control over him. He has no control over Mark. And if we can get Omni-Man back, this is going to be the best season of Invincible to date. But that's it. Tell me if you've caught all the way up. Reviews coming week to week. Invincible is back. I'm hyped. Tell me what you think about the first 3 episodes in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next one. Much appreciated.